this is interesting. The kind of topic, I just thought I'd recorded a video and then it didn't convert successfully, and I've tried a few different things. And interestingly, that was the topic of the video. That is the topic of the video, is how to persist when things don't work out. So this is the very example of it. And I thought, and I had a moment when I thought, oh, well, okay, I won't bother today. It's a bit like the theme of the video I did yesterday, which is, you know, how to motivate yourself, for example, you know, when you don't feel like doing something that you'd planned. This is kind of similar to that. It's like, how do we continue when what we're doing hasn't worked? And so that's what's happened. I don't know if this video is going to convert okay. Might be something to do with the space on my computer. Anyway, the theme that relates to, because it was prompted for me by, again, going back to Zoom and, you know, online meetings, about another of the issues is when someone, how much airtime each person has, and what if they like get the airtime, you know, start talking and then don't stop. Well, everybody has to stop eventually. I did think having a chess clock might be useful, because if you're in a face-to-face conversation and, you know, a kind of casual social conversation, someone's talking a lot and you lose interest, well, you can turn away, you can get up, you can talk to somebody else. It's not quite so available. It's available to be able to leave, you know, a Zoom meeting, for example. But it's so much more apparent that you are not there anymore. And so the question is how it highlights our sensitivity to people's reactions. I remember days gone by when we were practicing, you know, the amount of airtime you had in a meeting. You had to have, kind of sounds crazy now, maybe some companies still do it, but they would have this baton, and you could only speak if you were holding the baton. Well, of course, somebody could get the baton and not let go of it, of course, but it's kind of highlighted how much airtime, because it's like hijacking people's time if you start to speak and then you go beyond the point at which they want you to continue. So the ability to test constantly in anything that we're doing is really important, to be sensitive to the feedback that we're getting, which will often be non-verbal feedback. And it all relates to a concept that in NLP is known as the TOTE: test, operate, test, exit. And the test is testing whether your present state meets your desired state. Sounds easy. However, that relies on us, you, me, being sensitive to our present state. I mean, yesterday when I'd done quite a bit of exercise on the trainer, and I realized after a while I'd really got quite cold. This was after I'd finished, and I hadn't really been paying attention to that. And it took me quite a while to get warmed up again. So I wasn't being sensitive to my own state, and therefore I wasn't acting on that. And it also requires that we have a very precise, measurable, desired state. Most people don't, just the way it is. In business, you think, gosh, surely people have got measurable outcomes, but nope. Most people confuse activity with outcomes. So I remember years ago when I first went independent, the consultant I was working with, we were working with a team in a company, and we were talking about people's roles, and this one person said their role was an advisor. I think it was financial advisor. And we were exploring, well, what's the measurable result of you doing your job successfully? And he said, well, I give advice. That's not a measurable result. And eventually, and it really put a spotlight on him and how successful he was being, or not, as was the case, was that the advice that he gave, and then we had measures on quantity and relevance, but that the advice he gave was accepted, that a percentage of it was accepted. Didn't expect that people would accept 100% of his advice, and that the advice that was accepted did what it said it would do. So there were measures about the quantity of advice that was accepted and about the success of that advice, that it actually fulfilled its promise, if you like. Well, he'd never measured himself on that. He just measured himself by the amount of advice he put out. Kind of reminds me of Trump in a way. He just puts out thoughts. He's not measuring his success. I suppose he's just measuring his success by the fact he gets re-elected, which amazingly he might do. So the ability to set measurable outcomes for yourself is really key. And that's, so those of you doing modeling projects, which was the topic of my, or modeling generally, which was the topic of my last video, it's results driven. You'll know that you've achieved your success in that if you can deliver the result that you are studying, either in yourself or in other people. So if someone else has this ability to achieve a very specific effect in what they do that you can observe and that you can measure, the measure that you've modeled successfully is that you can achieve that same result. Whereas if you just say, I'm going to model confidence, I'm going to model tenacity, I'm going to model humor, they're just amorphous, abstract things. They haven't got measures attached to them. So the TOTE is test, operate, test, exit. So it's to test, does my present state match my desired state? Am I achieving a result that I wish? So if you're talking, let's say in a Zoom, use the Zoom meeting as a context, then presumably, well, I suppose your outcome might be to just get things off your chest, and it really don't give a toss whether people listen to it or not, which probably is not a very friendly way of using some of these meetings. If, however, you are sharing something in order that would interest other people and that they could find valuable, then that would be what you'd be searching for and testing for constantly, regularly, consistently, in order to know, is it worth continuing? Should I change tack? Should I stop altogether? Whereas I think very often, and even in roles where people are reliant on the responsiveness of their clients, for example, I've experienced many salespeople that just go on talking and talk themselves out of the sale because they've gone on too long. It's a bit like the Gerry MacGuire film where, she, on him returning, she was just talking about, him coming back. And he said, you had me at hello. So there's the question. Do you know when you've got somebody at hello? When's the hello moment? When you're engaged in something? Let's just keep it with conversations for the moment. Well, it's a very, very big topic, this TOTE, and the way that we can skillfully use that to achieve whatever we consider to be success in our lives. So how much are you testing that you are achieving what's important? And are you acting? To what extent are you acting on the feedback that you're getting? So, in a conversation, and I've had lots of people present things to me, and they've often blundered on. And when actually it's kind of, they've gone down a track that doesn't interest me within the first few minutes, and they haven't tested that, and they haven't sensed that, and therefore just carried on. And that carrying on has been a waste of time. So it operates, this is so important at so many levels in life. So question, what's an outcome, what's a result that you are working on that's important to you at the moment in your life, in your work? How measurable is it? How will you know when you've achieved it precisely? Not, and it's no good saying, well, I'll get feedback. That's not a measure. That's a medium. It's no good saying, well, I feel good. It's not precise. It's like, how precisely, what's the precise measure that you will have achieved what you want? And how are you testing for that? So whether it's in a conversation that you're having online, you know, whether it's an interaction, social interaction with somebody, whether it's a piece of work, whether it's a project that you're engaged in, what's your measurable outcome? And how are you testing? And how regularly are you testing that you are on track and that your present state is consistently moving towards your desired state? And if not, that you're doing something different. Ooh, let me know.